Assalamu alaikum and welcome everyone to this very special program. Today we'll be covering the hashtag Black for Rohingya campaign, and we're going to be speaking to activists from all around the world to give us their views on why Rohingya Solidarity Matters. I'm your host for tonight. My name is Shabnam Mayet, and I'm from the organization called Protect the Rohingya. We're a South African-based awareness organization that has been working on the Rohingya issue since 2012, and hashtag Black for Rohingya is our social media awareness campaign. We began it in 2013 to raise awareness around the massacres in Arakan State the previous year, and we've been commemorating it ever since. Before we get into the programming, there are two people that we must remember on this day. The first one is Michael Clinton, and he was part of Protect the Rohingya. He was based in Ireland, and for many years he was a big part of this campaign, and he lost the battle to cancer last year. The other person is Zakia Seguro, and she was one of the people who really supported this whole organization, and she passed away on Thursday night that just passed. So we ask Allah to grant ease to the families of the departed, and to put them in the most beautiful place, inshallah. So with that, we're going to go straight into the programming. We basically the campaign ran today, and it was unprecedented because what happened was citizens of Myanmar from the anti-coup protests, they joined in the campaign, and around this afternoon, there were already 180,000 retweets of the hashtag. We're going to be speaking a little later to Nay San Nguyen, who's going to give us updates on the numbers and where we are. With that, we hope that you will stay with us. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, Protect the Rohingya, we're on Instagram, Protect the Rohingya, and we're going to be going through to our first set of interviews now. And we're basically just going to be speaking to Rohingya activists from all over the world, asking them what it is that they think is very important when we look at solidarity. For us, of course, oh yes, before we move forward, I must point out my t-shirt. I don't know if you could all see it. So this is the Protect the Rohingya t-shirt that we made this year. It's been doing really well on sales. And you can contact us on Facebook if you'd like to get one and you're in South Africa. So, how do you feel about solidarity, and why do you feel that Rohingya solidarity is important? All you need to do is go onto Salam Media on Facebook, or you can speak to us on Twitter and tell us what you think. And with that, let's check out if our first activist is on the line. So basically what I wanted to share with you from the newspaper today is that the France 24 basically said that anti-junta protesters flooded Myanmar social media with pictures of themselves wearing black on Sunday in a show of solidarity for the Rohingya, a minority group that is among the most persecuted in the country. And this is unprecedented. And the reason is because for the longest time, people in Myanmar did not even recognize that the Rohingya existed. And now, more recently, the new national unity government, the parallel government, and others have been taking strides dealing with the Rohingya issue. But again, not enough is being done. And we hope that this will push that. So it's good to have all of you on the show today. It's also really good to know that the campaign is going well. Yeah, and we hope to hear from you. So just to tell you a little bit about what Protect the Rohingya has done over the years, we have done a lot of briefings, a lot of countrywide tours, a lot of having Rohingya speakers in South Africa. We've also run a winter school in the camps. Okay, there. Okay, so our first activist is online. We're speaking to Rizal Rahman Lenin from Bangladesh. Oh. Assalamu alaikum, Riza, and welcome to the show. Riza, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, I can. Thank you. We apologize for the delay. We've been having a few technical difficulties. We're very glad that you could join us, and you're wearing black. And basically, from your side, could you please share with the listeners why you think that solidarity with the Rohingya is very important?
Thank you.
So why should people worry? Why should people care?
Sorry, Shabnam, would you please repeat it? I think the internet interruption a little bit happened. So
Okay, so the question that we want to ask all the activists tonight is, why is it important for the listeners to why is solidarity with the Rohingya so important at this time?
I think this is the time when Rohingya community are living in a state of exceptional situation, and it's inhuman, it's a torturous situation, and it's a genocidal situation, and genocide is still ongoing. Crime against humanity in all forms is happening inside the Myanmar, and it's beyond, because international community failed to address it since last 60 to 70 years. And also there is a massive crackdown and massive genocidal.
Okay, I think that is.
And world community failed it to respond it in appropriate manner and in a reasonable manner. So in short, this is a very strong necessity, strong need for the world human community to stand with the Rohingya, not only for the Rohingya or behind them or working in a different stretcher or working in a lobby group or other thing. This is not the time, because the genocide is happening, genocide actually been committed, and there is a further chance for other forms of criminal activity and atrocity crimes. We are probably states. So this is strong need for us to stand with the Rohingya and protest all forms of brutality from Palestine to Rohingya refugee.
Okay, okay. And tell us right now, how do you feel about the fence situation?
Fencing actually kind of barred to this is a situation which actually violate the principles of friendship. So two neighboring country, and there is atrocity crimes got a refugee status, refuge to the Bangladesh state, and then Bangladesh state creating fencing and constructing fence for the other nationals within their own country. This is also continuation of crime against humanity. This is also continuation of crime, genocidal crime, because on the other side, bordering country with cannot come, cannot trespass, or quote unquote, I mean, officially trespass from their own country to the other country. And they are in a genocidal situation, and they will kill them, and all forms of inhuman activity they can do into the Bangladesh and Myanmar border. On the other side, India is creating border with the Bangladesh state, because Bangladesh sees there is allegation there are thousands and millions probably Bangladeshi living Bangladesh state and also working in India as an immigrant. So they actually create a fence all over their country, at almost the 2/3 of the bordering states. So this is the situation. So fencing actually, in short, in my
We keep losing these now.
and also invites us to do a number of criminal activities, and that criminal activities and criminals are state apparatus, not necessarily the the regular criminal activity. But the state is doing a crime by creating a fence into their uh, borders.
Rizal, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for all the amazing work you are doing and for keeping the Rohingya in the news. We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next guest that we have, we're speaking to Amal Dechkera, and he is from Statelessness and Inclusion based in the UK. Welcome to the show, Amal.
Thank you for having me, Shabnam.
Okay, so basically what because today, as you know, is the Black for Rohingya campaign, what we're asking people is why solidarity with the Rohingya is important.
When you talk about solidarity, I think it's important to think about it both at the human level and at the political level. And at the human level, I think it's very important for us humans to express solidarity with other humans because our humanity is interconnected. And when we see other human beings living in horrible conditions that have been imposed on them by structures of power, or when we see people suffering great tragedies, it's 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 an expression of humanity to show solidarity with others. From a political level, I think it's really important, in particular, to show solidarity with groups who have been targeted systematically and discriminated against and persecuted by those in power, and particularly where other people wielding positions of power have not done as much as they can or should or are obligated to do to protect them. So, in the context of the Rohingya, when we see the atrocities committed against them by the Myanmar government, when we see the way Rohingya refugees are treated by other governments, whether it is India or Bangladesh or elsewhere, and when we see powerful actors in the world failing to come together to protect the Rohingya as they're obligated to do under international law, then it is up to you and I and other regular people to show solidarity with the Rohingya and to demand much better of our leaders. Which is why I think it's so important for us to all show solidarity with the Rohingya, both as an expression of our humanity and as an expression of our political dissatisfaction with how the Rohingya are being treated.
Okay, and thank you for wearing black today. This is very important. We are absolutely surprised at the numbers. We really, last year we had 26,000. We were hoping for just a few more than that. The fact that the campaign is trending in Myanmar right now, it's really amazing for all of us out here. So we just want to share that with the listeners. The other question I wanted to ask you is, so obviously you work with refugee rights and statelessness, right? When people speak about the Rohingya repatriation and them going back home right now, and countries push for the repatriation, how does your organization feel about that?
Well, it's a very interesting question, and it's quite a complex one because, on the one hand, the Rohingya have an absolute right to return to their country, and this is a right that we would stand behind. And you would see when you speak to many Rohingya groups that they want to express this right, and they want to be able to enjoy this right to return to their country. On the other hand, we know very well that the reason they've had to flee their country to begin with is because of the deep and entrenched structural discrimination that they endured, that impacted on all areas of Rohingya lives and manifested itself in different ways over many, many decades. And this had to do with your day-to-day life as well as crimes against humanity, persecution, and even genocide. And so our answer to people who are pushing for Rohingya right to return and Rohingya repatriation is this is not a question that should be addressed from the perspective of the convenience of other international actors. It's not about repatriating Rohingya to Myanmar because the Rohingya refugees in a particular country are seen as a burden on that particular state. Instead, it needs to be spoken of as a right to return, and that right to return can only be fulfilled when the conditions for that return are satisfactory, so that Rohingya can return and live dignified and equal lives in Myanmar. And that means many things, one thing that it definitely does mean is that Rohingya must return with their Myanmar citizenship and with their right to Myanmar nationality intact, not a pathway to naturalization, but their right to Myanmar citizenship. It also means access to other rights. It means compensation for crimes committed against them and a whole host of factors. But I feel that people who call for repatriation, but who are less willing to engage with these other aspects of the issue, are being disingenuous, and we need to ensure that the discourse around repatriation is actually framed from a rights perspective in terms of the right to return and other rights.
Okay. All right. And if there's one thing that you would like the listeners to know about the Rohingya issue, what is that thing?
I mean, I think the Rohingya issue, very sadly, it shows us how much nationality actually does matter. And perhaps it shouldn't matter this much in the world, but it does, and that's a reality that we live with. And we've seen this with the Rohingya. We're seeing it in India right now, in Assam. We've seen it in the Dominican Republic with Dominicans of Haitian origin. We've seen it in Kenya with various minority communities, where states feel that if there are minority communities who are unwanted, whose belonging is challenged, that one of the strongest weapons that states have to use against those communities is to take their nationality away and to make them stateless. Because once you can make someone stateless, then you can use that as a basis to justify a whole host of other rights violations. And technically, under international law, this may not be the reality, but in terms of how politics happens in the world, this is what we see. And so those of you who consider statelessness, for example, to be a very random issue that happens in a very accidental way to a few very unfortunate people, I think you need to understand that actually the politics of exclusion, which underlines statelessness, the politics of exclusion, which also underline racism and xenophobia, and these are the big questions that we need to be tackling head on in our societies around the world.
Okay. So, Amal, we thank you very much for your time and for joining us on the special programming. And we wish you all the best with the rest of your work.
Thank you, and fantastic to see this campaign taking off so well, and well done to you and all of your colleagues who are
Thank you
behind it.
very much. Thank you very much. So, listeners, right now we're going to be going to some pre-recorded messages. We're speaking to colleagues from Colors of Hope, colleagues from Restless Beings, and colleagues from Altian Burma. So, have a listen to what they have to say about why Rohingya solidarity is so important. Welcome back to this very special programming, listeners. There seems to be a technical difficulty with the pre-recorded messages. So if you came across that, we apologize for that. But we've managed to get back on the lines, and we are now being joined by Zinat Adam, who is an activist and also a former diplomat. And and she's going to be talking to us. So welcome to the show, Zinat. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, Shabnam, and congratulations on a successful campaign this year. I think that it was totally unexpected, but what has transpired is beyond what we've been working on since 2013. And I think that it's phenomenal that the Black for Rohingya has gone beyond the social media, and what we're seeing on the ground today in Myanmar, in every part of Myanmar, from Mandalay to Yangon to the smallest of villages, and even messages coming from Heiho, youth saying that they wish that they had been supportive of the Rohingya before, and today they stand with the Rohingya and they stand for democracy and they stand against a military junta that has been brutal and that has really taken away the humanity of people by disenfranchising them, by displacing them, and ensuring that there is this dictatorship. It is fascism, and it is supported by similar remnants around the world. If we look at places such as India, we're looking at Kashmir, for example. You look at Lakshadweep, that is also facing a similar kind of dehumanization of its people. We look at other parts of the world. We recently were campaigning around the Palestinian issue. And I think these are sister struggles that are happening around the world.
Okay. Well, first I have to start by saying that is a very cool t-shirt you're wearing today. So, I think that that's awesome. It's great to see. Thank you. So, tell us, as South Africans, why do you think that Rohingya solidarity is so important?
Well, as South Africans, we grew up in apartheid, many of us, and the struggle for democracy in our country cannot be fully achieved if we do not see that kind of democracy expressed elsewhere, and we don't have the freedoms and justice and humanity and human rights in other parts of the world. It would be amiss for us to be celebrating and to be having a democratic country without calling for similar kind of democracy elsewhere. And it is no different in the case of the Rohingya, who have been marginalized and have been the most marginalized and persecuted group of people in the world. Not only in terms of displacement, but not having a voice, not having the access to education, to basic human dignity and services. And this is what we expect to see for every human being around the world, whether it's in South Africa or in Myanmar. And what we've seen transpire in the last few months with the dictatorship is not something that we as a democratic country can stand in favor of. So I think it is a natural solidarity that South Africans have with the people of Rakhine, with the people in Myanmar, and definitely the right of return for the Rohingya.
Okay, so as someone who has been there from the start watching this campaign grow, what are some memorable moments you'd like to share around Protect the Rohingya efforts?
I think the very first time that Protect the Rohingya had brought through two Rohingyan people to come and speak and address our Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 2012. And I think that was the eye-opener for us to understanding the plight of the Rohingya people. The second would be just 3 or 4 of us standing outside the Myanmar embassy in the rain one day and standing with that solidarity. And although it was just a few of us, I think that we made an impact. And then, of course, we had a march a year or two later where we had quite a strong outcome. Lots of people had come out in solidarity. But I think that the consistency that Protect the Rohingya has had in all of these years, not giving up and ensuring that this message is always out there, building that solidarity, educating people, getting people to understand what the situation is in Myanmar. And of course, the kind of campaigns that have taken place in the refugee camps as well, looking at ensuring that there is relief work that's taking place, working closely with Colors of Hope and other organizations to support humanitarian relief, but also looking at sustainable programs of education, of building of political psyche in the camps and amongst the Rohingya people. And I think that is the most important thing, because it looks at continuity and involvement of the Rohingya in their own political destinies. So when they do return to Myanmar, to their home state of Rakhine, that they are able to govern and to have the ability of capacity building.
Okay, Zina, thank you very much for your time and being part of all of this. And listeners, we now have to go to an ad break. And again, awesome t-shirt.
Tune into Shabnam Media via audio stream. Live Facebook.com/Shabnam Media.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome, listeners, and those viewing us on Facebook Live. Today is a very special Black for Rohingya show, and basically we're speaking to Rohingya and activists from all over the world, and we're asking them why Rohingya solidarity is so important. So next on the show, we're speaking to Tun Kin from the European Rohingya Council, and just so you know, we've been trending in Myanmar all day and we're super excited about it. Also, if you like this t-shirt that I'm wearing, have a look. It is available for those of you in South Africa, and you just have to contact us on our Facebook group. Tunkin, assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum assalam. Assalamu alaikum.
It's good to have you. So tell us, tell the listeners why it's so important for them to be in solidarity with the Rohingya, especially at this time.
This is very important. Thank you so much for having me here, and I would like to express many thanks to Shabnam. For many years, you've been trying to do this campaign, and it's very successful for this year. To be honest, as far as what we can see from inside Burma, this is historic milestone, historic moment that the people inside Burma who were rejected in the past, now they are really embracing and they are showing solidarity with the Rohingya. They can see the suffering. So when I come back to your point that you are asking why important, because, you know, we need to look at what's happening to current situation in Myanmar. In Myanmar, the military coup happened in February 2021, a few months ago. And the person who military coup, the commander-in-chief, Me Online, he is the leader of the coup leader. The coup leader, he is the architect of genocide. He is the person who ordered to kill thousands of Rohingya. He is the person who ordered to burn Rohingya children alive. He is the person who ordered to burn down more than 400 Rohingya villages. He is the person who ordered to rape thousands of Rohingya women in 2017. So that's why I want to mention here that it is very important that genocide against Rohingya is ongoing right now in Arkhana state, where 600,000 Rohingya lives are at risk. Anytime they can face attack by the military, you know, but systematically destroying the Rohingya identity, existence, those restrictions are on place. So it is important movement for the whole world that ongoing Rohingya genocide is still ongoing. That's why Black for Rohingya today, the movement is very important, that international the people who have humanity, who respect human rights, who really want to stand against injustice should join today in this movement that to show solidarity with the Rohingya people. Because in 21st century, we are still facing genocide. Military coup leader is continuing in that. We are really in danger. So this is more than ever important time in 2021.
My apologies, listeners and Tunkin. Tunkin is from the Burmese Rohingya Organization UK, and Tunkin is also part of the case being brought in Argentinian courts. And while we have you on the line, Tunkin, do you just want to share with us a little bit more about the case that you're bringing in Argentina?
Yes, this case we already started about 1.5 years ago. The case we submitted and we're still waiting for the investigation. Unfortunately, the case is taking a bit longer because of COVID-19. Because of COVID, people, the judges are not available and prosecutors are not in office, and Buenos Aires, the court is checking with the International Criminal Court whether the case is duplicated or not. But we made it very clear. We got very good response from International Criminal Court that we file a case in Argentina. This is nothing to duplicate. This is not overlapping with ICC case, because ICC cases, particularly for the deportation case, where Burmese military crimes committed, and then these victims, they were expelled to the country, were signed by ICC, the Bangladesh. So our cases mostly will focus on the Rohingya victims, where thousands of Rohingya women were raped and killed, and Rohingya children burned alive. So when I visited to the camp many times, the first time I spent about 4 weeks in 2017, one thing unitedly I heard from our brothers and sisters, the Rohingyas, who are genocide survivors: brother, we want justice. We want justice. We want justice. That is the word I heard from every single man and women. So that voice brought me, we must fight for the justice. Not only me, whoever, international lawyers, international community must fight for the justice, must bring those responsible to justice. This military is enjoying impunity. One thing we need to look at, why today coup happened in Burma? Because the military, they can go along whatever they want. They can kill the people. There is nothing, accountable for them. So that is why our cases more focus on genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, where thousands of victims, Rohingya genocide survivors, where Rohingya genocide we face in Rakhine State. So we want justice for them.
Thank you very much, Tunkin. We really appreciate you joining us on the special Black for Rohingya program, and we wish you all the best with the case going forward.
Thank you, Shabnam. Really appreciate for your continued support for the Rohingya, and it is a big solidarity. You initiated that Black for Rohingya campaign. Today we have seen a historic, historic movement that where thousands of tweet and we have been seeing that trending in Twitter. So this is really a great campaign. I want to support. I want to request you that please continue to move forward with this campaign, and really appreciate. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, so we're being joined now by Nasan Nguyen. He's from the Free Rohingya Coalition and a very well-known activist. You've probably seen him across all social media, across all major media companies, on the news all the time. Nasan Nguyen, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
We're both smiling a lot today.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Smiling because, today it is the, as just now, Kutunke mentioned, it is the historic moment for us. We have been working on this campaign for 8 years. This is first time after 8 years, thousands of Burmese people who hated us in the past, they joined with us, So it is the historic moment for us. That is why I'm smiling, when I see you.
So you've been checking the analytics all day.
Because, you are the main person who initiated this campaign.
Protect the
really
Rohingya.
Thank you for that.
Happy. Yeah. We are really very happy that we initiated this campaign.
Since the morning, I have been checking, and, I took myself the photo and I posted on my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Over the Facebook, I have got like almost close to 20,000 reaction. So like over the Twitter, now it is almost close to the 500,000 tweet,
Wow.
So
because last year, I was saying to the listeners when we just started, last year we only had 26,000 reactions and we were so happy. And we said this year, as long as inshallah we just get more than 26,000, we're going to be very happy with it. So this was really unexpected. And you have been watching the numbers and the news all day. So tell us what's been happening in Burmese language, because obviously we don't know.
Yeah, I think 4 days ago I posted the press release you sent me over the Free Rohingya Coalition website and the Rohingya Today website. After I tweeted the link of the Free Rohingya Coalition one, I have got like almost more than 3,000 retweet in a few hours. You know, I think in a couple of hours. So some Burmese friend they asked me to translate this into Burmese language, so I translated for them in very short one, not the long one. So they circulated, they spread it over the Telegram channel and also the Facebook pages. So I was expecting, because since after the coup, some of the Burmese, the mostly young people who call themselves Generation Z, uh, they show the solidarity with us because they understood that the state media was lying, because when they were protesting against the military dictatorship, the the state media, the television, the same television were the producing the fake news. So they understood that whatever they learned from the social media were the fake news. So they realized, there are also some other people realize that that this all are the political game. And there is a still a group who do not want the Rohingya at all, who do not want to hear the name Rohingya at all. But I mean, more than 50% of the people change, because whenever I post about anything over the Facebook, I have got like 1,000 of the haha reaction, like that they were just showing that they don't like it. So these days, there are not much, like the maybe less than a dozen people, still they are reacting like that. So the people have changed. And also the government, now we have got the shadow government. The same people were in the government in the past, but they have changed their the policy toward the
I was
Rohingya.
very interested to actually see this week the statement that the shadow government put out, that
Yeah,
Myanmar citizens will be anyone born in Myanmar and anyone
yeah.
born anywhere in the world to Myanmar parents. But the one thing that I didn't understand, and maybe you can help me with, they said that they will start the process or help the ICC with their process. But what does that mean for them?
Well, as far as I know, after the following this NUG statement, in 2 days they had the press conference. They didn't mention much about the International Criminal Court, but they responded to the journalists about the International Court of Justice. They are not going to defend at the International Court of Justice, like the lady has done in 2019. So they said whatever decided by the ICJ, they are going to follow it. So this is clear.
Okay,
For the International Criminal Court, they can't do anything because they are not the legal government yet.
exactly.
Once that they have, as I understood, once they have got the recognition from the United Nations, they can move forward to sign the Rome Statute. But after, even if they can rectify the Rome Statute, it will not affect for us. Maybe if that this military or any other the people if they commit any crime against us, they can go for the legal case. But we already have a case at the International Criminal Court. So regardless of whether they agree or not, because they didn't agree, when the ICC asked them to provide the jurisdiction, the agreement, they didn't agree. So whether they agree or not, this is not important for us. The ICC has started their investigation. I think it is going to take another 2 years or maybe
Exactly.
maximum 3 years.
Okay. And the situation of Rohingya inside Rakhine State, now that the coup is happening and these protests are happening, we are not hearing a lot about Rohingya who are still in the camps. There's more than 600,000 Rohingya there. What are you hearing about that situation?
Yeah, the situation is I mean, like the all type of the persecution since 1978. those all are still in place. Like, they don't have the citizenship, mean, they don't exist. They cannot live from their village. If they want to live from their village, they still need the the permission in from the village administrator. Like, same thing in happened in South Africa a few years ago. So, and those people confined into the camp in Situate and other town, they are still in the camp. The camp are, same like the concentration camp I have visited in Germany and Poland, same like the Auschwitz, but there is not much forced labor. But sometimes they are tortured, they harassed by the local police and the military. They are just dependent of the food ration distributing by the WFP and the ICRC. Nowadays I heard, they are not distributing the food ration. They are just giving them the cash or the coupon, so they can buy the things. There are the Rakhine business people, the traders, they go to the camp, they sell there, or they go to the market and with the security guard. Of course they cannot live alone, so this way they are surviving. And the remaining 450,000 are confined into the village, and they have nothing. So they are also most of them are dependent of the support from the WFP and the ICRC. So the situation is same, but there is only the difference is there is no mass killing or the burning the houses. But normally, these people, if they go out from the home, if they see the Boragat police or the military, they are just harassed, extort. This is just the various type of persecution is just normal for them. Only the massacre things are like, this is not the normal. And it happened occasionally, like 2016, 2017. So we are really worried because that the May Online is responsible for the crime, the genocidal crime committed in 2016 and the 2017. So he has the power now, full power now. Just the 3 weeks ago he had the interview with the Chinese television based in Hong Kong, and he said he cannot accept the Rohingya, and also he's completely denying our existence and accusing us that we were like the seasonal the labor. British brought us for the farming there. So everything he is denying, and that means we will never have the citizenship. If we don't have the citizenship, we will not be able to move anywhere. But unlike the NUG shadow government now, you have read the statement. At least they promise something, but since they don't have the power, this is not really helpful right now. But we can hope something in the future if we success this. The spring revolution in Myanmar. We will have something.
I mean, it's very amazing that from the 1st of February till now, people are not giving up in Myanmar. They are still coming to the streets, and they are continuing, and they are being met with force. They are being arrested, but they will not give up. And maybe this should show us how much they don't want this dictatorship.
Yeah. All right. Because, Myanmar is under this military dictatorship since 1962. People have suffered almost 6 decades, So especially young people who call themselves Generation Z, they are really, unlike the youth in our time. There was the 1988 uprising. I was a young boy, but I still remember a lot of things. So they are unlike those youth. They'll since they know how to utilize the technology. They are learning from online, and they are exercising their self-defense rights, right? So thousands of this the youth are now in the border area. They join with the current national union in the Thai border, and also with the Kachin Independence Army in the northern Burma border to the China. So they are learning, they got the military training. So there will be the armed revolution for sure. What they believe is, the international community is just, they can support us, but for the real solution, the United Nation or all the superpower country, they will not be helpful. They would just issue the statement, sanction. Those are not going to overthrow this military dictatorship. So there will be for sure the armed revolution, but in some town already started, like in Chin State and the other in Kachin or in
Nathan,
Sagain, many places.
unfortunately, we're running out of time because we only had an
Okay.
hour for the show. But before we go, please tell us, what are the latest numbers out there on Twitter? Listeners,
Well,
while Nasan is checking for the latest numbers, we just want to thank all the individuals, all the organizations, all the Rohingya organizations, everyone that came today to support Black for Rohingya and has been supporting it over all of these years. And we want you to remember that when we are fighting for justice, there's no action too small. We can all do something. So if we teach the people around us about the Rohingya, if we support an organization that is working in Bangladesh in the camps, if we educate one another, if we join social media campaigns, but we can never say that there's nothing for us to do and the Rohingya are too far away. So I want to thank you all. I want to thank Salam Media. I want to thank all the guests that we had tonight. And before we leave, I want Nasan to please just give us the final numbers.
Final number is 485,000, almost close to the 500,000. So in the morning, there are a lot of people from US, they are going to tweet. So maybe in the morning we will have more than 500,000.
Inshallah. Thank you very
Inshallah.
much to all of you for signing in today, for joining us on Facebook Live, and for joining us on Salam Media. And thank you to you, Nasan. Thank you to Rizar Rahman. Thank you to Amal De Chikera. Thank you to Zinat Adam. Unfortunately, for those recordings that we couldn't play today, we apologize for those. But we thank you for everyone that took part. Tunkin was also here from the Burmese Rohingya organization. And we just appreciate all of you for joining us on this really momentous occasion for Protect the Rohingya. And from me, that's it. We're signing off this very special show. Assalamu alaikum.